navigate to the Jobs menu under Projects. And then for the job that you want to add the BOQs to, navigate to the dashboard. On the left side of the dashboard is the menu that contains the list of objects for that job. So for instance, this item here shows the number of BOQs that have been added to this particular job. Now let's say we want to add a new BOQ. So we click on this link here, and this takes us to the BOQ dashboard. So this screen shows us the total number of BOQs that exist in this job currently. And if we wanted to add a new BOQ to this job, we would click on the Add BOQ button. So the first field here is the BOQ code, and typically this is the code that's there in the tender document as given by the client or the project owner to the contractor. So let's just, for testing purposes, let's just put A. The BOQ name is a short description of the BOQ, and generally it should be short, maybe 100 characters, maybe 200 characters, but not the entire descriptive text of the BOQ. The notes field is the field where you add the entire description of the BOQ. And this is where you would find all the various data associated with the specification of the BOQ item that the client wants you to deliver. The parent BOQ is required in cases where you have a child BOQ. Sometimes this is referred to as a sub-estimate of the main BOQ. So in this case, because this is the first BOQ we're adding to this job, there are no BOQs to add as a parent. So we won't be adding a parent BOQ to this particular BOQ. The UOM, or the unit of measure, is the unit used to measure the quantity of this BOQ. So this comes from the unit of measure master that is inbuilt into OMNI. And you would have to choose a unit of measure from this list. In the case that you would find a BOQ item that has a unit that's not here, you would have to go into the configuration section of OMNI and add the unit into the unit master. The next field is the BOQ type. There are only 2 BOQ types supported in OMNI, and these cannot be changed. Item rate is essentially a BOQ which is remeasurable, or whose billing amount depends on the quantity of measurement done for this particular BOQ. Most BOQs are item rate, although there are cases when there have been lump sum BOQ items as well. So you would enter the item rate. When you're entering a BOQ for the very first time, this would basically be an original BOQ or a progressive invoice BOQ, and you would choose original. In the case where you are entering a BOQ which is an amended value of an older BOQ, then you would have to enter variance request or amended for that particular BOQ. The rate is the price of the BOQ, or the agreed upon rate at which you will bill this BOQ item. So let's just put 1,000 for this. The quantity is the quantity in the unit of measure selected for this BOQ that was part of the tender or the contract between you and your client. And the value is automatically computed as a product of the rate and quantity. So you enter all of these fields and click on Save, and that adds the BOQ. So let's say we want to add another BOQ to this. We would click on Add BOQ, and let's say this is a child of this, so test child of BOQ1. And in this case, we would choose the parent BOQ as the parent of the BOQ we just entered. Again, the unit of measure is something that you would choose. And because we're entering it for the first time, we would choose an original or progress invoice. And when we click on this, we find the child of this BOQ. Let's say we want to edit the BOQ. We would click on the edit link here, and this lets us edit the BOQ. A couple of points here. Again, most of these fields we already saw. Some new fields are whether or not the BOQ is billable. If it's billable, you can enter a measurement for this and create a running bill, RA bill for this when the time comes. A supply BOQ is essentially a BOQ which involves a supply of material as opposed to service. This is useful in the case where the product or some finishing item that is an item that you have to sell to the customer as part of your service item. So you would use that BOQ item as a supply item. In case the BOQ is something that you've made a mistake in or that you don't want, you can click on delete. You can also change the status of the BOQ. For instance, if the BOQ is cancelled and you don't want to create any measurement for it, or you don't want it to show up anymore, you would choose cancel and it would cancel the BOQ item. By default, the BOQ is set as created, and unless the BOQ goes into the contracted state, the BOQ remains created. When it's contracted, at that point you can enter a measurement for this and you can create an RA bill for this. If the entire quantity of the BOQ has been completed, then mark it as completed, and again this BOQ, you won't be able to enter a measurement for this BOQ. An amended BOQ is when the quantity or the rate of the BOQ has changed and you would want this particular BOQ to be linked to that one, so you would change the status to amended. There are various ways in which the status also changes automatically. We will get to that point later.